Howdy, my friends. I am Taylor Schroll, and welcome to Foundations. Foundations is a 10-week course that we are doing here at our local parish, St. Joseph's in Bryan, Texas. And I wanted to let you know a little bit about what it is before the series kicks off. So where this came from is our parish is building a path of discipleship. So we were like, how can we help people to grow in their love of God, their love of neighbor, and just become a better disciple of Jesus Christ. So we were like, where do we start? Like, what's the ground floor? What is the basic thing we need to do? So we started doing Alpha at our parish. You might have heard of Alpha, and it's essentially a 10 to 12 week course. You meet once a week at the church. You have some food. There's some videos, and you have some like small group discussions. So it's just really just an easy kind of it's not a huge commitment. It's just kind of come in, whoever you are, and let's talk about Jesus and some basic teachings about faith and Jesus and who God is and prayer and those sorts of things, right? It's like an introduction into Christianity. And then we were like, well, what's the next thing? Once people are excited about that, kind of that, that relationship with Jesus, what's the next thing that we need to do? And anytime somebody kind of starts on that path of discipleship, one of the next things that they need to do is to learn more, is to go a little bit deeper, take that next step. And that's where Foundations came from. We were like, what is the next thing we need to do? So we built it to look pretty similar to Alpha. It's still a group of people gathering together. We have a meal together. One of the differences is, instead of watching videos, is we have myself, Jennifer Stavanoa, and a couple of other people giving talks and talking for about 30 minutes. And that's what these videos are going to be, is that portion of the evening. And then we break into small groups and discuss it and kind of build some community as well. So this is kind of that second part of that path of discipleship. So a lot of this is going to be like intellectual formation in like the basic teachings of Catholicism. So this is over the next 10 weeks. It is going to be like the 10 most basic teachings that you need to know as a Catholic. We're being as systematic as we can within 10 weeks. Obviously, you could teach Catholicism for months, years, a whole lifetime, right? So we're trying to pare it down to like the Catholic top 10. So obviously, there's some things that we could dive more into, but this is kind of the basics, right? The basics of Catholicism. So who is this for? It could be for any group of people. So one, it could be people who are new in faith. So like people who like really met and learned about God and Jesus and prayer in Alpha, and then come in and are hungry to learn new things about the faith. That's a portion of what has been happening at our parish. A large group at our parish, though, is a different group. It's a lot of times it's older Catholics, people who have been in and around the church for a very long time, but one of two things: either needed or desired a refresher in like some of the basic teachings of the church, or kind of like maybe the last time that they really had some kind of systematic learning about the church was whenever they were younger or teenagers. So like being able to learn these things as adults on a more adult level. And then the third is a group of people who are like very much practicing Catholics and might know a lot of the things that we are teaching. But there's kind of two things on that, where it's maybe we have heard things within Catholicism that we know and we have heard intellectually, but maybe we haven't applied it to our life. So one example would be like forgiving your enemies. It's like, we all know that we as Christians should be forgiving our enemies, but have you forgiven your enemies? We all know that we should be turning the other cheek, but have we? So that's one of the things too, is to be, a lot of times we need to be kind of consistently reminded of some of these basic teachings of the church, so that we can apply them more fully to our lives. A lot of people, so this is our second time going through Foundations. The first one wasn't on video. We just did it with a group. And one of the things that we saw in Foundations was kind of two avenues for people who are Catholic. So it's not just like, basic introductions. We can go a little deeper. There's two things that happened. One was that maybe you have been around the church for a very long time, and you know a lot about, the Eucharist. You know a lot about the church teaching on abortion. You know a lot about the church's teaching on Scripture. You know a lot about the church's teaching on the Mass and why we do things at the Mass. But ultimately, it's like, how do all of those things connect together? how does our understanding of the sacrament of holy orders connect to how we understand Scripture? And ultimately, how do all of those things connect to the central teaching of our faith of the Trinity, that God is love and he loves you and wants to be with you and me for all of eternity? Like how do all of those, the kind of the knowledge that we have of Catholicism, how does that all connect ultimately to the great commandment, the greatest commandment, to love God and to love neighbor? And that is the second piece, right? It's an invitation to every new thing that we learn about God is another reason to love him. So we think often about, like, when you're dating, when you first start dating, it's like the more you start learning about the other person, especially if it's somebody who ended up becoming your spouse, like a lot of the people in our foundations course are married. When you're first dating, that every new thing you're learning about this person, you're becoming more intrigued. You're learning to love them more. That love can deepen more than it was on the first date because you didn't know them all that well. It's similar with our knowledge of God and the things of God. It's like we can grow more in our love for him, but the more that we know him. So a lot of this will be intellectual formation. The first 5 weeks are pretty heady, like some pretty heady topics. And then the last 5 weeks is more of a transition into now how do we really apply these things to our life? Christian living, the church's teaching on Christian living. So, the catechism is set up kind of like that way too. It's like, these are the things that we believe. Here's how it works. Here's prayer, here's sacraments, and here's the Christian life. And that's essentially what we do, pared down into this 10-week study. So the topics that we will be covering, every week we'll tackle a different one. We'll be tackling, these are in order: the church, divine revelation, the Trinity, sacraments, salvation history, temptation and sin, virtues in Christian living, Mary, the universal call to holiness, and then mission. How do we go and live this out? So that is our trajectory over the next 10 weeks. We hope that you will enjoy these. We hope that you will be able to dive into them. So this is something different here on our channel too. Like a lot of the things that we typically do are like the podcast and like the joy of the gospel and kind of how to live out our faith. And we do our pop culture series, A Catholic Perspective, on TV shows and movies. But this is the first kind of endeavor here on the channel of some more deeper intellectual formation. We hope that you guys enjoy this a little bit different for us, but a really cool ministry that we have going on here locally. So every week we'll have a little introduction, and then we will cut to the video of the talk portion of the evening. So please hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss next week's video. We have a couple out already. We hope that you enjoy that one. Please let us know what you like about them. If you're like, oh, I didn't know that before, or if you have any questions, we would love to do. We do Q&A sessions with the people here in person. We'd love to do a Q&A session for you guys watching here on YouTube as well. So let us know in the comments of the video. And yeah, hit that subscribe button. Over the next 10 weeks, we'll be having foundations, and then every week we also have a podcast. Here we've got our Catholic Perspective series. We've got some things on like Lord of the Rings. Just kind of we run the gamut of Catholicism and faith and culture here on Forte Catholic. So hit that subscribe button, and we will see you guys soon.